Before he threw a single punch, he had already declared himself a champion. That's the kind of belief Muhammad Ali carried. Not the kind that waits for the world's approval, but the kind that comes from deep within. The kind that says, even if no one sees me, I see myself. He said, I am the greatest. I said that even before I knew I was. That's more than confidence. That's commitment. That's a man who made a decision about who he was and refused to let the world convince him otherwise. But don't be fooled. Muhammad Ali's story wasn't easy. He was born Cassius Clay in Louisville, Kentucky, in a time when black men were expected to be silent, small, and obedient. But Ali was born to be loud, to be bold, to be unapologetically himself. He discovered boxing almost by accident after his bike was stolen. He told the officer he wanted to beat up the thief, and the officer said, "You better learn to fight first." That's where the fire began, and once it lit, there was no stopping it. Ali trained with obsession. He moved with grace, floated like poetry, and stung like prophecy. He wasn't just a boxer. He was a revolution in motion. His footwork was art. His speech was fire. And his mind was sharper than any jab he ever threw. But the world wasn't ready for a young black man who looked into the camera and said, "I'm the greatest." They laughed at him. They called him arrogant. They said he was just a mouth. Then he stepped into the ring, and silence followed. He dominated with speed, precision, and swagger. He didn't just fight, he performed. He didn't just win, he made you remember how he won. But what truly made Muhammad Ali a legend wasn't the gold medals or heavyweight belts. It was what he stood for outside the ring. At the peak of his career, Ali was drafted into the military for the Vietnam War, but he refused to go. He said, "I ain't got no quarrel with them Viet Cong. No Viet Cong ever called me the N-word." That one decision cost him everything. His title, his license to fight, his income. For 3.5 years, the greatest boxer on the planet couldn't box. Not because he wasn't good enough, but because he refused to betray his values. He gave up the spotlight for his soul. That's not arrogance. That's integrity. That's the courage to say, "I'd rather lose the world than lose myself." Ali knew that real champions aren't defined by how many trophies they hold, but by how many principles they won't let go of, even when the price is everything. And here's the part most people forget. He came back. After years in the dark, after being stripped of everything, he came back stronger. They said he was too old. They said he was too slow. They said the fight would break him. Then came the rumble in the jungle. Ali versus George Foreman. Foreman was younger, stronger, undefeated. But Ali had something more powerful than muscles. He had belief. He used a tactic no one had seen before: the rope-a-dope. He let Foreman swing until he was tired. Then Ali rose from the ropes like a storm and knocked him out. The world stood still. Because Muhammad Ali didn't just win a fight, he reclaimed his crown. He proved that greatness isn't about never falling. It's about rising again, even when no one believes you can. Ali wasn't just a boxer. He was a philosopher, a poet, a man who knew that the mind must conquer before the body ever can. He said, champions aren't made in gyms. Champions are made from something they have deep inside them. A desire, a dream, a vision. And that's the message for you. You don't need to wait for the world to see your worth. You just need to see it yourself. Maybe you're not a fighter in the ring, but you're fighting something. Doubt, failure, fear, rejection, your own past. And maybe life keeps swinging. Maybe you've hit the canvas more times than you care to admit. But as Ali taught us, it's not about the fall. It isn't the mountains ahead to climb that wear you out. It's the pebble in your shoe. The small doubts, the inner critic, the fear that you're not enough. That's the real opponent. And you beat that not with perfection, but with persistence. Ali wasn't perfect. He lost fights. He made enemies. He said things people didn't like. But he never let the world shrink him. He never forgot who he was. And if he could believe in himself when the whole world doubted him, so can you. Your greatness starts not when others believe in you, but when you believe in yourself, even in silence, even in suffering. So next time you're up against something bigger, stronger, faster, remember Ali. Remember the man who spoke victory before he ever saw it. The man who lost everything to stand for his beliefs. The man who fell, came back and became immortal. Not for how he fought, but for how he lived. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Your doubts can't hit what your belief refuses to see.